Quarantine's broken me. I'm drinking on the job. Now, normally I do this off camera, and it's actually something I've wanted to talk about for a long time here. I don't drink enough water, and you're gonna need some for the heat I'm bringing at you today. The iPhone 12 Pro Max's design has been revealed, and it looks like a phone that I personally wanna buy for the first time. Like, really wanna buy. It doesn't look like an iPhone from the past. This is new from the ground up. AirPower fully back in the works. Oh my gosh, are we still talking about this wireless charger? You can betcha 2020 was a year that nobody was expecting. And Apple's also continuing work on over-ear headphones, which could debut as soon as June at WWDC. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Grab your waters, stay hydrated throughout this video because your brain's gonna be working overtime. There's so much good stuff to think about. All right, drop a like if you're looking forward to it, hit subscribe for more. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, guys, let's go ahead and jump in here with the first leak. This one's absolutely out of this world, coming courtesy of my pal EverythingApplePro and his source, Max Weinbach. A world's first look, the revealed iPhone 12 Pro design. Yo, there is so much to like about this. Essentially, EverythingApplePro and Max Weinbach were able somehow, I'm not sure I want to know the details of who they had to take out back to get this CAD file, but to get the engineering document for the iPhone 12 Pro Max's design, and whatever they did was worth it because there's some great stuff here. All right, primarily, it's the fact that this looks different to me. The iPhone design has been so absolutely stagnant for such a long time now that the iPhone 6 to the iPhone 11 Pro, yes, they look different each and every year, but they're rounded. I don't know, they look like a phone. This, to me, it's the iPad Pro design in the palm of your hand, and it looks different. It doesn't look like an iPhone to me, and that's exactly what we needed this year. Next up, the notch is getting smaller here as well. This is something that I'm also excited to see. Now, I know a lot of you have just like, yeah, I accept the notch, it's whatever, I don't even notice it, and I'm in that same category as well, but when every other phone manufacturer for the past couple of years now has been putting out phones with smaller notches, and Apple has remained stagnant, that's not sending a great message out there, and it's something that I've wanted to see. I want to see a notch that's smaller, and Apple is also doing that this year with the new iPhone 12 Pro Max, at least. I assume everything I'm saying is also going to be true about the iPhone 12 Pro, but I just know for sure right now this is like an iPhone 12 Pro Max document. And going right along with a smaller notch, Apple is slimming down the bezels, which is going to be incredibly impressive. The bezels on the iPhone 10 to the 10s to the 11 Pro have been essentially identical for years. So again, Apple's made engineering progress here through lots of research and development. They're able to slim them down even further and significantly, to the point where I think you'll actually be able to tell when you're holding the phone that something changed here. It's not just like, oh, if you take a microscope, you can see it's 1 millimeter thinner. It's like a significant change in the millimeters year over year, and it's gonna make this phone look extremely futuristic. Flipping the phone back over on the back, this is no secret. We've seen this time and time again now. We even saw this in the iOS 14 iPhone 12 leak, but there are going to be 4 camera cutouts, but not 4 cameras specifically. 3 of them are gonna be for the ultra-wide, standard angle, and telephoto lenses, like we had on the iPhone 11 Pro, but Apple's shifting the one on the right up just a little bit to make sort of like an L shape. This 4th one is going to be a LiDAR sensor, basically what Apple already unveiled on the newest iPad Pro that allows you to sense distance. It's probably going to help with photography, but the primary upgrades are going to be for augmented reality. And I've tested out the new Measure app on the new iPad Pro, and it can actually like measure things, like let's say this poster board, accurately, to the point where I feel comfortable for the first time ever measuring things with my iPad. On the sides of the phone, you're going to notice that the antenna lines are a bit heftier. Yeah, they've gained some weight, not because they've been eating a lot of food, but because they've been eating up all that 5G bandwidth. We have heard for years now, I think it's like 3 or 4 years at this point, that 2020, that's the year that the iPhone is going 5G to stay competitive with its Android counterparts. And there's been so much hype around 5G that I'm not personally like, yeah, let's go 5G. I've been rooting for you here the whole time. It's just like, it's a new wireless standard. I'm happy the iPhone's gonna support it, and we can see that clearly reflected in the design. Apple's relocating the SIM tray over to the other side of the phone, which is interesting because it's been on the same side, like under the power button for a long time. It's now looking to be under the volume buttons, but there's also something that's coming in place of where it was gonna go, and that's what appears to be a smart connector. Now, let's use our big brains to connect the dots here. We have heard rumors for as long as I've been alive at this point that the iPhone 12, or any iPhone at some point, was going to gain Apple Pencil support. Now, the iPhone 12 Pro Max is going to have a 6.7-inch OLED screen. anything smaller than that, I'd say it really isn't viable to have an Apple Pencil. But with the more screen real estate, the smaller notch, the iPad Pro design, it's going to be on the iPhone 12 Pro Max, or it's never gonna happen. And we've heard this forever. It is something that Apple is clearly testing. There's too much smoke here to not be a fire, and the Apple Pencil could finally be coming to the iPhone. Moving down to the bottom of the phone, apparently there's gonna be one less speaker hole. You know, there's been that like controversy around the, you know, this is a dumb controversy, but about the asymmetry on the bottom, how there's more speaker holes on the right side of the Pro iPhones than on the left. And this started with like the iPhone XS series. Apple is actually removing one of the speaker holes on the bottom now, and the speakers are actually said to get 10 to 15% louder this year. Now, 10 to 15%, I know that might seem like a lot, like numbers wise, but I don't know, sound, like how do you equate 15% louder to sound? You're gonna really have to have like a sound meter to tell the difference, but in some, I think, fringe situations where you need just a little bit more volume, Apple is able to pump out some more sound on the new iPhone 12 Pro Max's speakers. The power button on the right side has also been shifted down a little bit. This is probably due to Apple rearranging some things on the inside, but that is another external change here. Obviously, another part of the story is gonna be in the software itself, all of the iOS 14 specific iPhone improvements, but design-wise, I gotta hear your thoughts about just the exterior. This is everything we know right now. Thinner bezels, smaller notch, iPad Pro design, maybe a smart connector, less speaker holes. What else could they add here to make this the iPhone upgrade that I feel like we've all been dreaming about for about 3 years since the last big redesign, the iPhone X came out. Oh, and Apple's also working on some new colors for both the 12 Pro series and the standard 12s as well. 12 Pro apparently going to be switching from midnight green to a navy or midnight blue that looks something like this. This is an Everything Apple Pro render. And then for the standard iPhone 12s, Apple's working on light orange, light blue, and there's one more violet. So, you know, if you like any of those colors, great. None of those particularly stand out to me in any meaningful way as of right now. Next up, raise your glasses to this one. Oh my gosh, I can't believe for like 4 years, half of my YouTube channel's lifetime now, we've been talking about an Apple wireless charging mat called AirPower, and I kid you not, this is actually coming back. You might remember it was initially announced in 2017, it got canceled in 2019, and now in 2020, just to mess and pull on our heartstrings yet again, Jon Prosser is reporting that Apple is working on another one. Now, Jon in recent history has a pretty darn good track record. So he was actually, from his source, able to I kid you not, get a photo of this in testing in an Apple employee's home. Usually it's really fun to take leaked images, break them down, and really show you all the nooks and crannies, but there are no nooks, there are no crannies, and there's not even a hootenanny in this photo to look at. This is literally just a super obfuscated, you can't see anything because it was used to protect the source. But you can make out two things. One, a white AirPower mat, and two, an Apple Watch on the mat. Now, thinking back to the original AirPower, what was the big issue, or the rumored issue for why it was canceled? It was heat management. Apparently it sucked at that, to the point where if you'd ever try to put an Apple Watch on it, well, it would get really warm, and it, you know, might get a little hot to the point where it burns down your house or something. So Apple said, let's not actually release it. To combat this issue in new prototypes, Apple is working to put an A11 chip inside of here. So the same chip as in the iPhone X is said to be in the AirPower mat. And while that sounds absolutely ridiculous, it could actually solve the issue of charging a Apple Watch, because it charges differently, I assume draws more power to the point where they have to rearrange the coils, and that's how things get hot. So to manage this, the A11 chip might actually be able to do that. Now still, we're not getting this anytime super soon. Jon is telling us that basically Q4 2020, so before, like right around the end of the year to the very beginning of 2021 is when we'll be seeing this. If this product never comes out, I think we're gonna go on just fine. If it does, it'll be pretty sweet. Next up, courtesy of Jon Prosser again, and Bloomberg, we have more details on Apple's over-ear headphones. Prosser is saying these could come as soon as June. At WWDC, we could actually see hardware there this year, which would be fantastic. Maybe we will see hardware at WWDC this year, although generally it is not a hardware event. It's obviously for new software like iOS 14. Bloomberg tells us that Apple has a couple variants in testing. Both of these appear to have like magnetic interchangeable parts for like the magnetic ear pads and headphone padding. So you may be able to switch those out and customize it in some way, but the details there are still a bit murky. And there's two in testing right now, both of of which could eventually be released. One that's made for sports or running, walking, working out, that has like more mesh materials, so if you're sweating, it's not gonna make them feel really weird on your head. The other, much more premium, made out of something like leather for late nights at the studio, chilling with your bros, making some sick beats. And don't forget, 9to5Mac revealed this glyph inside of iOS 14 that they discovered. So Apple clearly is putting in the work here. This design is cool, and it pretty much exactly matches up with what we've already been hearing. These are said to borrow features like noise cancellation and maybe automatic play pause from other AirPods, and these are for sure gonna have Apple branding. They are not going to be Beats branded Apple over-ear headphones. We've been talking about these since 2018. They apparently have been delayed a number of times. I was gonna tell you a reason why. I don't actually know why they've been delayed personally. And this year could finally be the year that we see them. That is the load of Apple news I have for you today. I wanna keep you updated in the future. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you stayed hydrated. Yeah, I set the glass down because my arm was getting tired, but drink up, stay hydrated. I'll catch all of you in my next video.